right decision. And if it's not, he seems to modify his play in the middle of a game and make the situation right for him. So we'll see. We will see.
Ooh, here we go.
All right. Ender opens up by playing the crossbow on the left side against the guards. There's the Inferno Tower, locks onto the crossbow, and that's already not really a good start for Ender.
And Ender gives a little oops. The student is realizing that he's up against the master now and maybe needs to step his game up.
I love it.
Lets the sensei flaps him on the head
The
with
respect.
the expo. Absolutely.
With the expo. I'm just imagining that scene.
Now
That's hilarious.
Big the rocket saves the day as it has so many times already for Ender. I was gonna say, so one of the things to watch for in Expo mirror matches, if I can counter your Expo with an Inferno Tower, and my Inferno Tower still has a significant amount of health and time left on it, there's a great opening for me to set up the Expo directly next to it and leverage the Inferno Tower's remaining defense. But Ender opened up with his rocket version of the Expo deck, the one that served him so well in the last round against Killer Whale, and he's gonna rocket that Expo. It's up to Marcel to figure out how he's going to do this damage when his Expo is going to get rocketed every time it shows up.
That's a great fireball. I think that is totally worth it. In a siege match, every little ounce of damage you can get away with, you want to, because you never know how many more opportunities you're going to get, right? And so if you can start making these excuses early, all the better. Crossbow comes down, Inferno Tower on the other side, and there's no way to de-target it. And that's 2 crossbows now shut down by Marcel P.
Marcel was really smart there. He used his spell. Okay, so what Ender was trying to do was play things behind his King Tower to build up into a very effective Expo. He wanted that Mega Minion to reach the river so he could play an Expo beneath it. He wanted those guards to reach the river so that he could play an Expo next to it. And instead, both times, Marcel identified what was going to happen there, logged the guards, fireballed the Mega Minion, and prevented his opponent from getting that good setup.
No, what?
No!
Just missed
Come
it.
on!
I mean, he's made of ice. The fire should have melted it.
That's a rumor. Fire doesn't melt ice.
Clash Royale.
Rocket fires can't melt ice beams.
Boom.
Oh, man. This time, however, Ender does get a unit in front of his crossbow, and he tries to be more successful, but Marcel P has just so many tank units. Talk about value from a card like Ice Golem. Has been doing really well for Marcel P.
Great timing on that Mega Minion too, because even though the Mega Minion is mostly just there for defense, by taking out by doing 2 attacks on Ender's Tower, he just gets him that much closer into Fireball log range.
Now, one of the things that you have to notice right now is where the mind game stands. Okay, Ender's gonna play another crossbow, and I think Inferno Tower is gonna come down, log. Oh, that's big.
Go down.
That is big. Right now, Marcel P identifies that one of the biggest defenses that Ender has is the rocket. That was something that Killer Whale could not overcome when he was facing Ender. Marcel P has actually totally given up on crossbow doing damage to the tower.
He's baiting the rocket with it.
Exactly. He's baiting the rocket, and now Ender can't spell cycle with rocket. Yep. The fireball is doing better.
Ender is basically locked into the worst deal ever. Every single time Marcel P spends 6 elixir on an Expo, Ender has to spend 8 on a rocket plus a log. And Marcel P knows that he's got him in a good submission hold, right? You're going to have to take a -2 elixir trade every single time that you want to attack him.
Here comes a log. And I think Ender is fighting desperately to keep his crossbow alive. And that's a big log. And look at this value that Marcel P is getting off of his logs.
That's twice now that the log has not only knocked the shields off of the guards.
The Ice Golem's gonna do it!
We said he never hit anyone!
He's gonna take it down! Give it the hug!
Give it to him!
Ice Golem! He lives!
He's our favorite. He's our buddy.
Yeah, he's the best. Gosh, Ice Golem.
We need to all
That's
embrace
going to be
the
a
Ice Golem
replay,
and
buddy.
hug.
Bow down to Ice
That'll
Golem.
be a
Down.
replay.
We have the P.E.K.K.A. sachet, and now we have to have the Ice Golem hug.
Let's talk a little more about that Ice Golem, because you were mentioning him earlier in the match, and he wasn't taking down a tower then, but he was obviously doing something right.
Yeah, how did Ender allow that?
Now, you know, Ice Golem is one of those cards previously against Killer Whale. Killer Whale also used the Ice Golem pretty extensively, but using Skeleton Army, leveraging different cards, put in front of the crossbow, Ender was able to overcome the Ice Golem health level and really push his crossbow onto the tower. In this situation, I really feel like it was the Ice Golem in combination with a log that really helped Marcel P push past that point, right, and have his Ice Golem survive. The log consistently pushed guards down or killed them, and then took down Fire Spirits at the same time, making the Ice Golem so much more survivable because the big damage unit card drops that Ender placed were wiped off the table instantly by the log. And I think that's the key point. Okay. Because once the crossbow then locks onto the Ice Golem, it actually does so little that the Ice Golem will survive. But with the addition of something like Guards and Fire Spirits, the Ice Golem dies much quicker.
Now, one of the things, Roman, that you were saying is that poor Ender was in a deal that was just terrible, right? So it seemed like Marcel P had just got him like, hey, yeah, you either use your rocket on my tower, which would be okay, but then my Expo is going to get you. How far in do you think Marcel P saw that opportunity and coerced Ender to being there?
I think it was probably the second time that he realized this was going to happen every time. So, for example, you're looking for patterns in your opponent's play so you can exploit those patterns. Marcel P drops Expo next to the Inferno Tower. Rocket comes down.
It's great value.
Yeah, but what he noticed is that he wasn't just letting those couple shots go through, and that's probably smart of Ender, but he was throwing the log as well. So a minute later, does it again, drops another Expo, and here comes the rocket log. And it wasn't like the log was waiting for some other thing to come on the board for playing it. It was literally rocket in the air, log on the ground, they hit at the same time. At that point, I think Marcel P goes, that's a pattern. It's a pattern that's bad for him, good for me. I'm going to keep doing that and seeing if he keeps falling for it. And he did. I mean, maybe Ender didn't have a better choice, especially once his tower got down to like 700, 800 health. Can't really afford to take too much damage on your tower. But, that was tough. Now, are we playing best of 3 in the finals or best of 5? Best of 5.
Stakes are raised in the Clash Royale North American Open. So we play a best of 5, and according to our double deck rule set, you can win up to twice with a deck.
Got it.
But you still need to win with both decks to actually win the match overall, because you need 3 wins.
Okay, so Marcel P's up 1 game, Ender's not out. This means that neither player actually has to switch deck. If Marcel P wants, he could stay with the same deck.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just for 1 more win.
You guys think he would? Well, I guess we're going to find out right now. Marcel P up 1-0. Let's see if he can take that lead.
I think Marcel P's decks in general, it's interesting because every time Marcel P has played his Tesla deck, he's lost once before winning. And I wonder almost if that's because the deck is a little less than ideal for Marcel P. This question I can't really answer because I'm not playing at the level that Marcel P is, but it's interesting to consider.
So far, the story of this match has been the master
schooling
the student. We saw a kind of slow Expo that started up there, and Ender answers with Fire Spirits. He let it hit and then immediately was like, haha, no, whatever you have to follow up, that's not going to be good enough.
This might be Ender's counterattack, actually. Oh, never mind.
Those Inferno Towers are going to be really, really strong here. Now, I can't tell if Marcel P, I believe Marcel P is actually playing the same deck that he did last time. He must consider this to be his better version if he had to pick one.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think the Tesla Tower, I mean, just by results it shows, right? Every single time, Marcel P has gotten 2-1 for the entirety of today, right?
Really?
And every time he's lost, it's been his Tesla Tower.
It's a good point.
That is a good point.
So yeah, but that's one of the great challenges of the double deck format is it forces your opponents not only to be a really clever and smart deck builder, but to be prepared for all the things that you might encounter.
I think Marcel P is doing whatever he can to just defend, because he has Fireball in this deck, right? He knows that if anything, he can just sacrifice in overtime some elixir and just do 2 Fireballs and win the game, or find an excuse to do 1 Fireball now and then 1 Fireball later.
2 Fireballs in a log.
2 Fireballs in a log.
It's 2 Fireballs is 444, buddy.
I love your brain.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Right.
That's what he needs.
So Ender just rocketed Marcel there.
Yeah, I think, so here's what Ender's doing to respond to that. He goes, oh, you're not going to attack anymore? Me neither. When both of us gear up towards
now let's
10.
Just bleed elixir.
God.
I'm just going to fire rockets. Now, he unfortunately kind of bit really hard there. He's like, I'm going to build up this big push and come to attack you, and walked right into a deadly fireball.
Has to play the crossbow defensively.
Look at that. While the red crossbow is shooting the blue Inferno Tower, the blue crossbow is getting that nice little hit point lead.
Nice.
It should be far enough away.
This is actually something interesting. In the last match we watched, I explicitly said Rocket is getting outcycled by Fireball. Now Ender says, hey, you know what? I'm not going to let that happen again. I'm just going to take the damage and outcycle you with my Rocket.
Marcel P knew what was going on, decides to set up a second. He set the Expo in the middle in order to set up the second Expo.
Same thing.
Because here's the thing, if he sits back and doesn't attack at all or threaten in any way, there will be enough rockets maybe to take down that tower. So by building towards that second Expo on the side, it forces his opponent to spend elixir reacting and doesn't let him just fire a bunch of rockets.
There's no way to do it. Rocket will not close out that left side tower, and despite Ender's best efforts,
rocket in the air. Oh, look, it goes. Yeah, that's a king tower.
That king was.
We just got to do something.
That king did not care at all. That's the first time I've seen a king get smacked and not get mad.
Kings, I'm fine. So Marcel P now up 2-0 against Ender in the finals. If you guys are playing this tournament right now, if you're Ender, how hard is it going to be to shake off going? Right now, I have to come back and win 3 games in a row.
Don't call it a comeback, but Marcel P, as Rainey specifically mentioned,
Has lost to the Tesla.
Has lost with the Tesla pretty much exclusively. His losses have been with that Tesla tower deck.
He's obviously been able to win at the end of the day,
right.
but he still did take losses using it.
Right.
So perhaps there's an opening. Here's the thing, Marcel P has to play that Tesla tower deck. So if Ender can figure out how to win with this list against the Tesla tower deck and then do
the
it
second
again, they're at least going into a critical game 5, a deciding game 5, where both are using their alternate decks.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think Marcel P has shown a much deeper level of understanding of the matchup. He's been really good at baiting Ender into some bad setups, which is pretty crazy because we've seen
So
Ender do
good
that
to
to other
see.
people, and it just shows how
This
there's
is a food chain.
there's us, there's mouth breathers like us, there's good tournament players, there's elite tournament players, and then there's the finalists of the Clash Royale of North American Open.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what is the best way to practice looking for patterns like these guys do? Because when I play, sometimes it's like, okay, I can see like, oh yeah, when I play this, Prince against his goblins, this is great. Like, or I shouldn't say Prince because that wouldn't be too good. Dark Prince
likes to clear up goblins.
Dark Prince.
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of my extent of seeing patterns. But how do you see just the mass extent of what these
So
guys
far
do?
in advance, too.
Yeah.
It really comes down to just being kind of
Being good.
just surrounding
being
yourself
smart.
in competitive play, right? Now, here's something that actually is probably a pretty good message to send out there for any aspiring Clash players is that it's not magic that these guys are fantastic at the game, right? They put time, they put effort, they put a lot of thought into what they do. And with time and effort and patience, you can also push yourself up to that level. It just comes with, again, surrounding yourself with the proper competitive environment. Reddit is a great example of that. They're one of the best competitive clans out there in Clash Royale, and that's because they share, they communicate, they practice, and they really think about that, and they foster a very good competitive community. And now we see Marcel P and Ender facing off in some of the most insane mind games we've ever seen,
pretty
and
crazy.
lines of play that have ever been created in Clash Royale.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It also becomes a little bit of poker in a lot of ways, where if you play enough, you just sort of develop that sixth sense. You start to understand, like, sometimes
This is right, but just because I feel it.
think about this. I might be able to guess what deck you're playing from the very first card you play and where you play it. And
and
if I see that and guess right, I may be able to adjust all my cards from that moment before I ever see the critical card that you're holding in your
Those
deck.
mind games.
Yeah. Can someone make an entire list of like positions and cards and where you put them and what deck you're
So we can just like have it on the side while we
Yeah.
play.
I mean, it used
I
to
would
be
want
until the
that
last
too.
balance update changed it. If I saw an elixir collector, the first thing I assumed you were doing was giant poison.
Giant poison.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you just build everything after that, that they're playing giant poison.
All right, well, guys, we are into this next matchup in the finals. Marcel P just needs one more
could be
victory.
it.
Ender, he's got to come back. Let's see if he can do it.
I'm so excited, Rumham, because I think for once in my life I'm gonna predict the winner correctly. Oh no, actually I think I did that one
You
time.
picked
right?
you. You underrate yourself. You are
You're a
quite
humble
excellent.
man. Humble man.
But here we go. The Ice Golem does get a little freeze on there, but it's enough to get a tiny bit of damage from Marcel P.
All right, good
A
opening.
little more than tiny.
Mega Minion.
Oh, how many hits? How many hits? Oh.
Oh, he's not gonna get any because he's too busy looking at some skeletons.
In that case, we talked about how you'd always want to log the Skeleton Army. That's a great example. That Skeleton Army already did what it was supposed to do.
Yeah.
It distracted
3
it
for 3.
away. It forced 2 Elixir out of Ender's hand. I think Marcel P came out on the better end of that trade, even though the Skeleton Army got logged for a -1 Elixir.
All right, we'll see. Ooh, another crossbow loaded up. And defensive crossbow. Is that in range? Oh, yes, it is.
But I wonder what the logic there is. Maybe he's trying to pull all that stuff out so that he can just sort of shoot the other one to death? I'm not sure. Let's see.
It might have just been a cards in hand / timing thing that Marcel P identified. I think that he knew that he lost that exchange, and he's gonna just cut his losses,
Right.
Say, okay, fine, let's reset the situation. You get 100 damage as opposed to 1,000, right?
I get
I'm
it.
not
He
gonna
didn't
go
have
down that
Tesla
road.
Tower in hand, perhaps, so he
Yeah.
just feel like he had to do something else instead, or he didn't have enough Elixir to play Tesla with some other
Yes.
defense.
Yeah, he needed to buy a little more time. We'll never know. Would love to talk with Marcel P sometime and figure that out, but
Ender has a slight Elixir advantage right now. He's only up by 1, but that might be really crucial because that lets him get basically a free Ice Spirit. Not bad.
there it is.
Oh, no.
Tesla actually locks onto the crossbow, and this could be really big. So one of the big things that lost Marcel P a match early in the tournament was the incorrect placement of the Tesla Tower. And so now I think he's really keen on like, okay, I need to make sure that the Tesla is appropriately positioned.
Ooh, I wonder what the idea was with switching lanes for Marcel P. He's already got 20% of the health down on that other tower. Maybe he purposely wants to draw out the Elixir, the Inferno Tower to the other side.
Go, Knight, go.
Thanks, says Ender. All right, Tesla gets dropped, and again, more cards, and we're going down the poker hole right now. They're playing their hands.
skeletons.
Oh, and and Ender comes out dominantly on top. That's a half health crossbow working a lot of damage, and the Ice Spirit cycles, and Ender takes a convincing position now in the match. Big fireball, gonna take down the crossbow, but that was a big win for Ender. Oh, and he has another one ready to go. He's locked and loaded.
This is the thing that has separated Ender's Expo deck from a lot of the other Expo decks we've seen today, is he's got one of the fastest, most high-tempo Expo decks out there. He's not even really playing the Inferno Tower to help guard it. He just wants things like Skeleton Army, Ice Spirit, Ice Golem in front.
And Ender wins again, and this might be enough right in the final moments of the match to close out the game. No, 5-26. But I think that Ender is in an incredibly dominant position. He actually played his next Expo on the right side because he wants to ensure that he keeps the pressure up. He wants to force Marcel P to continuously play Elixir on defense. I expect to see, okay, Marcel P actually gave up on defense also. He says, okay, I know that I'm super behind. I need to play on the left side now to catch up.
Ooh, count the Elixir on board. I think Ender actually has a significant Elixir advantage right now.
What kind of a twist of events is this?
Wow, the other
Level
side.
3 Expo.
The other side. We talked about will Ender's level 3 Expo come back to bite him? No. Ender's like, no, I'm still gonna win this thing, Marcel. You just watch me.
Oh my gosh. So now that Ender found out how to beat this deck, do you think he could take it?
You found it.
Everything is going
Found
as
a
planned,
weakness.
right? Everything is still going as planned. We knew that Marcel P would lose with the Tesla deck.
Right.
Right. He's
The
lost
question
once.
is, he's probably going to lose again because they're going to play the same deck matchup. And then that's where the win
Take
is
it
going to happen.
all the way.
That's where the win is going to happen.
Just like
I'm
they
telling
telling
you guys now,
losing
listen,
twice.
listen up, viewers of the Clash Royale North American Open. That's what's going to happen.
Plan this.
Okay.
So wait, well, here's the thing. Now, if you are Ender, and you obviously you found it seems like a weakness in Marcel's deck that he's playing right now that he has to play until he wins with. Do you mind game him and switch up your deck right now?
He could, but he's going to feel really silly if he ends up losing.
But eventually, he has to win that other one
Yes,
anyway, right?
he has to face his fear.
Right. Eventually, he's gonna have to face it. So do you do it now and try to catch Marcel P off guard because he's expecting?
I think there's an advantage to that, but I think this matchup is the one that Ender's really going to push and get the maximum number of wins that he can with it, because here's the thing. There's a huge difference in this game. It's only one Elixir, though. Marcel has arrows for the enemy Skeleton Army.
Okay.
Ender has Log. Now, how many times did we see Log versus Skeleton Army versus arrows to Skeleton Army? 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times throughout the game. That is slowly but surely building up Ender a big Elixir advantage over the course of the game, and we saw it. Ender was up at one point by as much as 4 or 5 Elixir, and a lot of those matchups where everything was just crashing into each other was going in his favor because Marcel had to spend 3 Elixir and wait a little bit for the arrows to deliver.
Instead
The
of the
log is
instant
just
log.
boom, instant log, cheaper, faster. That could be the deciding factor in this next game.
One of the other things, too, is in Marcel P's other deck, he had the log as well, and Marcel P's log usage was excellent. That's one of the things that we identified about the log plus the Ice Golem in terms of defending against an Expo. Marcel P was using the log excellently, getting a lot of value, not just taking down skeleton armies, but taking down 2, 3 other cards at a time. And I think that really is hurting Marcel P that he doesn't have that option now.
Now, Ice Golem, when Ice Golem dies and he does the death damage, it slows down air and ground units.
Correct.
But it doesn't apply that freeze, right? It just
It does.
slows.
Yes.
It is a slow. It's not a freeze. It's actually
it
the
doesn't
exact same
reset the
slow
targets.
as an Ice Wizard. It's a 35% slow that lasts for 2 seconds. So
Okay.
very strong effect for only a 2 Elixir card.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, our next match of the finals is about to begin. Marcel P still just needs one more victory, but Ender starting to claw his way back. Will Ender do it, or will Marcel P end it right here and right now? Let's check it out.
2-1. The pressure is on. Who will be the first victor of the Clash Royale North American Open? Man.
I'm so nervous. I can only imagine what these competitors are feeling right
My
now.
heart is beating so fast.
All right, here comes the skeleton. We were talking about this. Log in this situation would have reduced the effectiveness of that skeleton army by just a bit, but I think this time Marcel P was pretty quick on the draw.
Now look, even though he came out ahead and he was able to stop it, he's now down by about 2 Elixir or so. Maybe this Mega Minion gets killed, it all works out in the end, but Ender, I think, is able to spend less Elixir to get his effective setups going.
Boink goes the helmet, and the Mega Minion did not get a single swing.
I
But
wonder if
Marcel-
Oh, good.
Marcel P, we saw consistently in the last game get out of tempo, right? It was just all about Ender attacking over and over and over again. And we talked about the cycle of the crossover, and this is a big connection for Marcel P.
Has Marcel P solved Ender's game? He was able to really He was able to really get that. Oh no! The dropping the skeleton army on top of the other skeleton army was not actually a great play because there's a 1 second deploy time. Whenever a new unit is cast, it takes about 1 second before they start attacking. And in that second, we saw all of Ender's skeletons
take them out.
Actually, key thing that happened there, skeletons do the exact same amount of damage as they have hit points. There was one situation where Ender's level 3 skeleton army actually hurt him. They didn't kill Marcel's skeletons in one swing like they should have.
That's actually very interesting, and that's why the Marcel P skeletons, we saw them actually move across the bridge because they won so heavily. But situation still remains, and I think the big problem for Marcel P is really the cycle.
Right. Ender's deck is much faster. It feels like it is, at least.
And especially now it's even, but you will start to notice the instant we hit the minute mark and we go into double elixir, I guarantee that Ender's going to run away with the pace of the game.
I think you're right. So it's really going to be up to Marcel P to figure out a way to finish the game before they get too deep into overtime.
This possibly is Marcel P's last good crossbow attack. He has to spend arrows to take down the skeleton army, but how do you stop the ice golem? And it looks like Inferno Tower will do just that. And I think it's all about Ender now. He's going to play the crossbow. Has a little bit of Inferno Tower left, but I don't think it's going to defend him that well. Ice Spirit comes around the bend, and I think it's going to get taken down. And
Tesla
good
was
defense.
out of hand there. He used the Tesla to help set up his X-bow, and then he really needed it in terms of attacking the other X-bow.
Oh, fire the arrows! No, he's going to use Skeleton Army to defend. Now you're going to need to use arrows anyways. There it finally is, but the Mega Minion is still alive. A little bit of damage, but now the counterattack. And I don't know if Marcel P has what he has in hand to defend. Sorry.
No, not at all. I was going to say the Ice Spirit that Marcel P played, it actually got attacked by the Mega Minion, but if it had jumped and locked onto that Mega Minion, I think that would have been game. So very good play on on Ender's Mega Minion to clear that thing out.
Oh no! And we're starting to see the effects of getting Elixir advantage slowly and having a faster cycling deck, but has Marcel P done enough damage to cycle out this tower? We'll have to see. He can consistently fireball to hurt that crossbow. And I wonder almost if it's better for Marcel P to start considering playing his Tesla Tower a little bit early, because that consistently every single time the double drop of X-Bow and Ice Golem is stopping that crossbow from taking a lot of damage. Oh, and this crossbow is doing so much.
I think that's enough to take that tower down.
Let's fireball.
We are deep into overtime, and it's not going to be
There it
enough.
is!
There it is!
Ender tying it up 2-2 against Marcel P. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going into a fifth and final game here for the finals of the Clash Royale North American Opens. So, in that case, Ender played the same deck.
There's two cards that we mentioned the log after the last game where Marcel had to pay 3 arrows for 3 elixir for arrows versus 2 for log. Another interaction in that was that Ender has 2 elixir ice golem. Marcel had 3 elixir knight. So even if they were trying to do the exact same thing, Marcel P spending 2 more elixir, 1 more for the tank and 1 more for the removal spell, and that allowed Ender just to consistently get ahead. And I cannot say enough about Ender's play. It's been very, very consistent and being able to outsmart one of the best Expo players in the world.
Woo. How do you overcome that when someone is ahead of you with Elixir? What can you possibly do?
You really need to play the mind game, right? You need to change up the line of play, because if you go toe-to-toe, you're going to lose every single time. That, or Marcel P needed to make sure that he made big plays at the start of the match, right? We saw, actually, Marcel P was coming out on those decisions before the double elixir time hit.
Yeah.
And that's really because his deck is just a little bit more expensive, but before you have that elixir regeneration, you will still win out those trades if you're playing them appropriately. Problem is, for Marcel P, is he needs to play one step beyond appropriately, right? He needs to play excellently. And it's just hard to do that against a player like Ender.
This shows how challenging the double deck format really is, because if you want to play 2 copies of the same deck, you have to make some really tough choices. You can bring 2 totally different decks. There's no requirement that you overlap any cards. You just can't overlap more than 4. So if you were to bring something like a Hog Rider deck and an Expo deck, that's easy, right? You just build 2 separate decks. But if you want to build 2 Expo decks, you really have to make those hard substitutions. And we saw those substitutions in Marcel P's alternate deck really come back to bite him against Ender's primary deck. But in the deciding Game 5, both are playing their alternate decks.
Yeah.
We'll see. Marcel P still has Skeleton Army, but Ender will not have Log anymore, unless he chose to bring Log in both decks, which I'm not actually sure about.
Yeah.
Everything is still going as planned.
Brandon, your master plan is still underneath, where Marcel's just going to lose twice and then come back right now, because Ender, there's no way.
Anything could happen right now.
Of course he could date.
Winner of this game walks home with $2,000 and an invite to Clash Royale
No
bootcamp.
pressure, guys.
I can't imagine the nerves they're feeling. When there's that much money on the center of the table, you might play better, you might play worse.
Well, we'll find out right now, ladies and gentlemen, the final match of tonight's Clash Royale North American Opens between Marcel P and Ender. Who do you think it's going to be?
I think it's going to be Marcel P.
Really?
Now this time, Ender doesn't have the rocket, right, that he had used in past versions. He's already won with that deck twice. Or is this the rocket deck?
No, I think this is the rocket
I think this
deck.
is the rocket deck.
So he may have switched after losing in round 1. He wants to take the rocket deck into the final match.
Come on, Gibbs.
Yes, you are right. This is the rocket deck.
He's got Tesla.
Now, both are running Tesla. They don't get the advantage of that very excellent Inferno Tower.
All right.
Just Tesla, just shaking hands.
Tesla V10.
Hey,
They trade.
Oh, Ender's won.
The projectile speed is too quick.
The most important thing is that neither player have the Xbow right now, or they don't have the Tesla Tower to fight the opposing Xbow.
Oh, how do you do that? How do you miss? Come on. How do you miss?
Those are
the
fast guards.
guard? Yeah, they're running real fast.
It was perfect though because he didn't take any damage.
Yeah.
So that was a perfect arrows. Wizard arrives precisely when he means to.
Right. That is always.
We all make mistakes, you know.
All right. Ooh, Ice Spirit to tank that up. It's Skeleton Army to protect the Ice Spirit, and we'll actually freeze up the crossbow.
Here's
Put
there
the
is a
log.
log, so he did choose to keep log as the duplicate cards in both decks. Marcel P opted to switch log out for arrows, and that kind of came back to bite him in these last 2 games. Ender, I think, correctly identified that he really needs log and Expo in both versions.
That one hit on the Mega Minion is pretty significant. Actually caught Ender up in terms of tower health, and Marcel P is still feeling like he's behind.
Yeah, he is. He's behind by only about 300 health, but that's what, 1 fireball, 1 rocket? Sure. Very significant.
Here comes crossbow placed on Marcel P's side of the field. Mega Minion coming across, taking it down, takes down the Ice Spirit. Now the guards, but just a little bit too late. Is there anything to play in front of the crossbow? No, and that's going to mitigate a little bit of the crossbow's damage.
Just like that.
Ooh. And Ender's tower went down, took about 600 health from that exchange. If Marcel P can do that 2 more times, that is within fireball range. He's a good shot. Great play with the Knight there up early. I think he knew that an Expo was about to come down.
Ooh,
Fire
perfect
Spirit.
placement.
Log right after.
And the Ice Spirit ran into the log, and now Marcel P is going to have to play the fireball to lower down the health of the crossbow, but good line of play from Ender is going to earn him a lot of damage onto his tower.
Absolutely. Great distraction there. Even though Marcel P's Mega Minion ended up winning that exchange and taking down the Expo, at what cost?
Yes, big arrows, but the Knight is not going to do too much damage. It's coming down to the wire now, and we're getting into the crossbow hole of just cards being played over and over and over again, and it seems like Ender has continually secured momentum advantage here. The crossbow is doing a lot, down to 300 health, and I think this might be it.
It's within the range of nothing else. Oh my god! Ender wins! To take the finals from Marcel P. Marcel P went up 2-0. I said don't call it a comeback.
Yo,
Let's call it a comeback.
Because Ender just came back. He takes the first place, and he is now our first winner of the Clash Royale North American Opens, and his name is going down in Clash history. What a ridiculous back and forth battle there. That one just kind of fired to the end. Marcel P up ahead, Ender up ahead, Marcel P up ahead, Ender up ahead. And then what was that switch? What was the final point? What are you going to ask me?
It was with the level 3 Expo. I can't even get over that. With level 3 Skeleton Army, level 3 Expo.
Yeah.
There is no
This goes to
doubt
show you.
that was some of the best decision making we could possibly see in a high level Clash Royale tournament to pull out these games against some of the other best players in the world with under tournament cards.
That's amazing.
Who would have thought the first Clash Royale North American Open would have ended like that?
That is making a statement. Ender's like, listen, like if you have cards that are a little better me, I don't care. I'm gonna outsmart you. I'm gonna outplay you. I'm gonna outposition you. And it was a fantastic back and forth. Marcel looking so strong though. I mean, getting Ender into those patterns that were not good for him up until he got to his Tesla deck and he just couldn't do it. We have now our replays of the finals, so let's go ahead and get right into them.
I mean, there were so many matches in this best of 5 and so many interactions, but consistently, as we see here, Ender will secure just momentum advantage. This is what we were talking about log being more effective than arrows, and we saw them face to face on this board right now. Arrows came in from Marcel P, log came in from Ender, but in the end, Ender is the one with the crossbow tagging onto the tower, and that happens continuously over the course of this match.
The lack of breathing room, I think, is really key for how Ender ended up winning this whole match. He was able to see what you were doing and then immediately play another Expo, and he knows exactly what you don't have in hand because you just played Dry Skull, or you just played your Knight. So I know you don't have your Knight, so I can play the counter to whatever is not Knight. It allowed Ender to sort of minimize what he could possibly expect to see from his opponent and prepare for that correctly.
I think that Ender has such a good kind of slim deck playing crossbow. He's able to every single time after the push clears out, play another crossbow and have that crossbow that did the tail end damage. And so just in the fact that he was continuously able to keep that situation where it was, talk about submission hold, right? There's no getting out of it.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to say there too is Marcel P at the end, his fireballs were being used when they were going on the side of Ender. He was also trying to make sure he hit the tower. So he's trying to get that little bit of chip damage. By him not hitting the units instead of trying to like favor the tower instead of hitting the units at hand, is that something that may have swayed it in Ender's favor?
I don't think so, because I think by the time Marcel P was casting those fireballs, the individual setup was already lost. So he's sort of going like, we play our units up front, we play the towers, I lose. The xbow has about half health left on it. I'm just gonna fireball to try to get it off the table, so that way I quit taking damage on my tower, and it's only gonna be worth it if you can hit the tower as well, because of course you want to stay kept up in the damage race.
Well, let's take a look at our brackets so you guys can walk us through the night.
Yeah, the story of the night here.
So crazy.
So many players fell, right? There could only be one eventual winner, and Ender actually, out of all of them, with the low-level epics coming from the bottom end of the bracket, representing Reddit Charlie, wins it all. And I think that he did that fantastically. Killer Whale was one of the players that we identified as the crossbow killer, right? His deck was actually so well positioned to defeat crossbow. Ender made it work. And then Marcel P is kind of alongside Woody as one of the top players in the world at playing Siege. And Ender outpaces him, not only in Siege, in a mirror match with lower level cards.
I mean, Ender beat 3 different players from 3 different major guilds on his way to the championship. He took out Pato HS of Synergy Mexico, takes out Killer Whale of Takeover, and then takes out Marcel P, co-leader of Reddit Alpha. Each of those clans you can find on the top global leaderboard, and Reddit Charlie, by the way, isn't, right? Like, it's just not that high-ranking clan. And he said, you know what? I'm not afraid of your trophies. I'm not afraid of your higher-level cards. I'm going to outplay you.
Yeah.
And rides a level 3 xbow
all the way to victory.
To not a bad payday.
No, not
at all. So let's take a little look at what he's making tonight.
Yeah.
So not only is Ender getting $2,000 for his win that he just, but he's going to the crown duels, and because of that, he's going to be remembered throughout Clash history.
That's
right.
right.
That was insane.
One of the 16 King of Kings that we're going to see in the Crown Duel finale. We have 15 more Coronation broadcasts, but the first one, of course, goes to Ender. Who do you think is going to maybe be found in the next 15 or so?
I don't know. Maybe it could be somebody at home watching right now.
Oh.
Just go to Clash Royale Open
.com
and you can have a chance, you know?
Yeah, like you said, go over to that website where you guys could be the next Ender. You could also be here. We could be praising your name, and also we could be crowning you our champion of the night. So before we get to that, though, just remind you guys, the next broadcast is happening tomorrow, Monday, same time, same place, 6 p.m. Show up here for the next ridiculous duels, and who knows? Maybe Woody will be back. Maybe Ender will be back. What if we have a double victory?
Possibilities are endless now.
Absolutely.
That was crazy.
Absolutely endless possibilities. But now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment that we have all been waiting for, the crowning of our champion. It is Ender. Ender, the man who now, when I see a minion who's a higher level than I, will no longer fret. The man who Goblin Huts will not come out of his tower to even try to comprehend. Ender, the guy who turns the master into the student and becomes the master himself. Ellie, will you do the honors?
I will. Ender, this one's for you.
Ender! Congratulations, you're a fantastic Clash Royaler. On behalf of everyone here at the official Supercell Clash Royale North American Opens, that was Rainey and Rumham.
I'm Ella.
I'm Christian.
Have a most ridiculous night.
See ya! Ender!